So continuing on, we are now in preparation for being able to apply level 3. And level 3 is going to give us Divine Health and Sacred Oath for our two features that we're going to gain. Well, our Sacred Oath is where we're going to choose our class specialization. Divine Health is just another feature that we're gaining through the Paladin side of things. So let's apply this level, and we should see a prompt here to indicate the path that we're going to take. Now, for this particular video, it doesn't matter what path I choose here, simply because I won't be covering any information specific to the features we gain as part of those particular oaths. I will do those in videos specific to that. So in this particular case, I'm just going to choose the devotion one for now. Now, we did gain, however, divine health. So let's go take a look at that particular ability here. So with the divine health feature, you are now immune to disease. However, disease isn't one of those things that we can actually apply through an effect for some strange reason and have it ignored. And I don't know why that's the case when it comes to Fantasy Grounds. So in this particular case, this isn't something that you're going to want to make use of to be able to automatically apply an effect, because there is no effect keyword for it to function on. However, you will want to let the Dungeon Master know that this is something that you have. And an easier way to do this, in this particular case, is just to simply drag and drop it into the chat here to remind the Dungeon Master that, hey, I'm immune to disease, so that doesn't apply to me. And that's all you really have to do. So you just go to your Actions tab and then just simply grab that and drag it down. Sorry, not your Actions tab, your Abilities tab. And that's literally all that you are doing. What is interesting here? Oh, I know why. Those are some of the features that have come through. So I'm going to ignore all of the other features that have come through here because they come through the Oath of Devotion. You get quite a few things from that. So I'm going to ignore those for now. And I'm just going to be focusing on all of the abilities that are essentially listed here. So we've essentially completed everything that we have to do from a Paladin's perspective for level 3. In relation to level 4, we are going to simply be gaining our ability score improvement. So with that, this is a relatively quick adjustment, and I'm going to be increasing our charisma by 2 points to bring that to 15 to give me a +2 bonus. Now what that gives me the ability to do is add 2 additional spells to this. And do we gain... We are level 4? No, we do not gain any second level spells just yet. So here's why I say we are gaining 2 new spells. If you recall, your charisma modifier dictates how many spells you're going to be gaining in combination with half of your level. Well, at this point, our paladin level is 4. You divide that by 2, that gives us 2. Our bonus is now a +2 as opposed to a +1, which means that we are now able to have a total of 4 prepared spells when it comes to our paladin's spellcasting capability. But we are still only being able to make use of level 1 spells. So I'm just going to pop this open, and I'm going to drop Bless. And I'm going to do Divine Favor, just for kicks. And that gives me all of the spells that I can essentially prepare. And remember, you have to go through and prepare them. Otherwise, they should not be available to you. And that is everything that we have to do when it comes to level 4. I will go through the examples of what happens when you increase your constitution and all that, as well as add a feat at a later point in time. But right now I want to show you what we could do to compensate for such a blunder on my part in making the charisma lower than the wisdom. And this would be the start of that particular process. So level 5, we are going to be gaining a proficiency bonus increase, as well as a new feature called an extra attack capability. So I'm going to drop this into place and then go look for the extra attack ability here. Now, extra attack gives you the ability to attack with a weapon twice. It does not give you the ability to attack with spells twice. So it has to be either a ranged or melee weapon, such as a crossbow, a sword, a longbow, shortbow, great sword, warhammer, whatever. Something that you're holding in your hands, not something that you're casting as a spell. That's how the action or the extra attack comes into play. Spellcasting has its own set of rules when it comes to how you make use of spells during a given action round. So if you recall, when you're going through a combat scenario, you have your movement capability, you have your actions groupings, you have a bonus action capability, as well as a reaction, or in some cases, your reaction would be most likely going to be an attack of opportunity. In the case of the paladin, you could use that protection fighting style if you took that as your reaction. But remember, you only get one reaction per round. So the extra attack capability comes into play when you're making use of the attack action component of the action phase. So the action phase can be as follows. It could be a melee attack, it could be a spellcasting run that you're doing through, it could be a ranged attack, it could be you opening up a door and walking through, or sorry, going through a door and doing some form of action within there that you yourself have come up with to complete during a combat encounter. And hopefully you're not near any particular combatants when that happens, otherwise you're taking attacks of opportunity when you do that. But that's what makes up of an action. So an action just isn't a attack action. It can be anything that is defined as an actual action, not including bonus actions and not including reactions. You can, however, take a reaction during your action phase. You can, however, take a bonus action during your action phase. So this is one of the things that I like to stress around the extra attack capability, is that you have to be very careful as to how it's used. As a paladin, there's a very good chance you're either going to be using those javelins or your longsword in a combat situation. In the case of the javelin, extra attack gives you the ability to throw 2 javelins, 1 for each attack. In the case of your longsword, extra attack gives you the ability to attack twice with your longsword in that one action round. It does not give you the ability to make 2 attacks during a bonus action. It does not give you the ability to cast 2 spells in your round. And it does not give you the ability to attack twice during an attack of opportunity. So I just wanted it to be clear that that's how that actually works. This is not something that you need to worry too much about, though. You're most likely going to be swinging twice with your sword, or you're most likely going to be lobbing 2 javelins, so whatever. And that actually completes everything that we have to do for level 5. We do not need to add this to our actions tab, because it's implied that when you get to 5th level, you have the extra attack capability when you are a paladin. So that means we can move on to level 6. And in this particular case, we are going to be gaining a new feature called Aura of Protection. So let's go ahead and apply this. And then pop open the Aura of Protection feature here. So the way Aura of Protection works is as follows, that if you are within 10 feet of someone who all of a sudden has to make a saving throw, you can choose to grant a level of protection on that particular character so that they gain an additional bonus to that saving throw roll. And what I mean by that is that right now our charisma is giving a +2 bonus. What we can do is, let's say we chose to protect the ape that we have in the combat tracker. Not sure why, but we can choose to grant that ape a level of protection while it has to make a saving throw, and they will gain that +2 bonus on top of the saving throw roll that they have to make, giving them a +2 bonus to any of their saving throws that they choose to make. You see that there's no restriction on the type of saving throw that this has to be in order for them to be able to make that. Now, granted, it has to be a friendly creature, so you couldn't choose the ape in this particular case. I was just using that as an example. But there's a little bit of a catch. When you drag this into your combat tracker, or your actions tab, I should say, there's no effect here. So what we do is this. I'm going to set this into the Paladin group. Paladin. Right-click on this and add a new effect. And then I'm going to say this as follows. Aura of Protection, semicolon, save, colon, and I believe CHA should work. And we will test that. And it should be on next roll. Now, this isn't going to apply to yourself, and there's also no expiration on from a round perspective. It's literally going to be when they make their saving throw roll. So this gives you the ability to drop it on anybody. So let's see if this actually works the way that we expect. I'm going to open up the combat tracker here. I've already got the ape targeted, so I'm going to drag this effect onto that ape. And we'll see here that it did calculate the bonus correctly. So that is good. We don't have to worry about fiddling with it after the fact. Now, on the Dungeon Master screen, I'm going to force this ape to make some form of saving throw roll here. So let's do a strength check, or a strength saving throw roll. So it rolled a 5. And it did gain a +2 to the bonus. So this save 2 here that you see here did add a +2 bonus to its saving throw roll, because it has a +3 bonus on its own. And it rolled a d20 +5, which gave it a DC check of 10, or a saving throw check of 10. Obviously, it's going to fail whatever it did, unless that value is 10 or higher, 10 or lower. But we can see that the bonus has in fact worked. So this is working as expected. Now, you wouldn't actually apply it to the ape. In fact, your own feature here doesn't even allow you to do it. It has to be a party member or someone who's friendly to you. So it could be an NPC that's in here that you're trying to save, and you're friendly to them, that kind of thing. So I was just using the ape as an example because I did not want to have to go through and create another party member and add it to this particular party. Although I suppose I have all of the other characters I've created thus far to be able to do that with. So that's how Aura of Protection works. Now at level 7, we will be gaining another Sacred Oath feature, which we will not be covering in this particular video, so I'm just going to apply that particular level here. And then we will simply move on to level 8, which is going to be an ability score improvement. So let's drop that into place. Now, as promised, I'm going to do a Constitution ability score improvement increase. And I didn't cover this when I did the Charisma bonus, but the way that the ability score works is as follows. As a player, you have 2 guaranteed choices that you can make. A third is going to be an optional choice based on the Dungeon Master themselves. And this is what I mean by that. Your 2 guaranteed options are as follows. The first one is that you are guaranteed to be able to choose one ability score and modify that ability score by 2 points. So I could take for example, the strength and add 2 points to it and make it a 20. Now I already adjusted my charisma when we did the first modifier, and I took it from the 13 to the 15 that it is now. So that's the example that I used in the first pass. The second example is that I can choose 2 ability scores and adjust each of them by 1 point. That is the second guaranteed ability that you could do, or choice that you have. So I could take my dexterity and make that a 12, and take my intelligence and make that an 8. So that is an example of what I could do there. The third option is only going to be available if and only if the Dungeon Master allows feats in their campaign. And I will give you an example of a feat a little bit later on. But the reason why those are not necessarily always granted, A, it's an optional rule, and B, some Dungeon Masters don't feel that feats are, shall we say, underpowered enough or aren't overpowered in some way, shape, or form. So they tend to be considered optional, and it's entirely up to the Dungeon Master whether they're allowing feats on that particular campaign or not. That's how that works. Now, in this particular case, I'm going to be increasing that Constitution by 2 points to bring it up to 18. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to showcase something else that you have to deal with as a player if you do decide to choose to modify the Constitution. Now you'll notice that our bonus went up by 1 point. We went from a +3 to a +4. I am now missing hit points on this particular character, and in fact I am missing 8 hit points. And the reason I know that is as follows. Whatever modifier adjustment is made here, so in this case we gained a +1 modifier, we multiply that value by 8, or our level, after we have applied our level into place, because that's when we're gaining the ability score improvement. So what that means is that I need to add 8 hit points to this particular character, and that would take it to an 84. If by some miracle you had acquired enough ability score improvement points that you do that you could make this modifier jump by 2 points, which by the way is impossible as I understand it with 5th edition, so don't even try. Then what would happen here is you would be able to multiply 8 by 2 and make that 16 additional hit points over top of what the original 76 was. So it's always the modifier bonus adjustment. So in this case, we went from a +3 to a +4. So 4 minus 3 equals 1. Multiply by our level means that we take our 1, multiply that by 8 equals 8. And we add that to the max hit point entry that we originally had, which was 76. And that's how that works. So at level 9, we are not gaining any new features. But there has been something that I have been forgetting to do, and that is our spell levels. At level 9, we are now able to cast 4 spells plus our +2, so it's a total of 6 spells. And we have now unlocked 3rd level spell slots, which means that I can make that a combination of 1st level, 2nd level, or 3rd level spells. So, I'm going to pop this open for a moment. I have 4 here, so I'm just simply going to add 2 additional spells to this list here. So what do we have? I'm going to take Aid. And what is Revivify? I'm going to take Revivify. So it's like the ability to restore somebody to life, or a creature to life. So that's essentially what this that spell does. But now I have regained, or caught up, I should say, all of the spells that I originally had wanted to do. So, and that completes everything that we have to do for level 9. At level 10, we are gaining the Aura of Courage feature. And I should have noted at level 9 that we also gained a increase to our proficiency bonus, but that doesn't really apply to anything outside of our saving throws and our skills, so I'm not too worried about that right now, except it does apply to our attack. But everything's automatically calculated, so we don't have to worry about that. Alright, so let's take a look at the Aura of Courage. So with the Aura of Courage, you are essentially able to make yourself immune to fear while you are conscious. But at the same time, you're projecting an aura around you out to 10 feet at level 10 that can help you protect others around you. So anyone within 10 feet of you will be protected by it. That range increases at level 18 to a total of 30 feet. So there won't be any adjustments that we have to do there, but we do have to add this to our actions tab because we are gaining the ability to provide immunity to fear. So Paladin, okay, Aura of Courage. Let's move into the Paladin category here, and we need to create a new effect. So Aura of Courage, semicolon, immune, frightened. And there is no expiration on this. So it could be to yourself and it could be on others. So how does this actually work in the combat tracker? Well, let's say that once again, and in fact, I'm going to change the, there we go, change the quote-unquote friendliness of that ape. Let's say it came in to assist our paladin for some strange reason. We could potentially now drop this aura of courage on ourselves and on the ape as long as they are within 10 feet of us. And anytime something triggers a fear effect, it would have no effect. And that's essentially what that does, is it gives us the ability to create that immunity buffer. Now, at level 18, that increases to 30 feet. So it's not necessarily restricted to anyone within 10 feet of you once you hit level 18. And that is everything that we have to do for level 10. At level 11, we are gaining an improvement to Divine Smite. So let's take a look at this. So let's do this, add that, and let's see if we actually gained an improved Divine Smite. We did. Let's take a look at this particular feature. So improved Divine Smite is giving us an ability to add an additional 1d8 of radiant damage to any of our melee weapon attacks. So it's only restricted to our melee weapons. It cannot be added to our javelins. And gives us an additional 1d8 points of radiant damage. So let's drop this into here, and you can see that it's already there. I suppose I could have done that. Anyway, let's do this. This will be Paladin. And that will move that into place, which put it down here. So I probably could have adjusted Divine Smite a little bit rather than doing it the way that I did, but this still works the way that it is now. So this is how improved Divine Smite works. Anytime I make an attack, and I'm going to heal that succubus because right now that's the one that I'll need for the primary aspect of this effect. Let's say that I have the dragon targeted for now. So I'm going to set this guy as actor. I'm going to target the dragon, untarget the ape. So this is who I have. Now when I make a melee attack with my sword, and let's use this as the example this time around. So I'm going to attack with this. That's 1d4 points of damage, or 14 rather. So 22, yep, that hits. I'm going to do the 1d10 points of damage. I mean, there's no point using a shield when you're attacking a dragon, right? Now, let's say that I didn't choose to use Divine Smite. Well, this automatically applies, so I should have actually added that to the roll that I did before I did the damage roll. So I'm going to clear that out, and now I'm going to roll this again. And you'll see that I have the 1d10 roll as well as the 1d8. So the 1d10 is the gray die here, and the 1d6 is this purple colored die. Now what happened there is as follows. Improved Divine Smite gives us the ability that anytime we attack with a melee weapon, we're automatically able to add 1d8 of radiant damage to that attack. Excellent. And yes, you can combine this with Divine Smite. So improved Divine Smite is implied. Divine Smite is something you still have to consciously choose to add to this. So let's re-roll this attack, if you will. So I now have my radiant damage effect applied here. Okay, good. I'm going to re-roll this. There's the damage, and then let's say that I used my 3rd level spell slot for this particular spell. So that would be 2nd, 3rd. So this will be 40 things. There we go. That's how that works. Now, there is another way that we could adjust this. So with Divine Smite, we could potentially get rid of this in its entirety and do this as follows. Let's add essentially this to Divine Smite. So I'm going to add a new ability. Add an effect, I mean. the effect will be Divine Smite, semicolon. It will be damage, colon, 1d8, radiant. It will be on self, and on next roll. And here's why I've done that just once. So let's say that I have chosen to use Divine Smite with one spell slot used. Well, I add this effect to me twice, and I also add this effect. Now what's going to happen when I roll that is it's going to roll the 1d10 damage, but then it's going to roll 3d8 of Divine Smite capability here. So instead of having this set up this way, I could have done it this way. And it actually kind of makes a little bit more sense with this way. Now, rather than having to go and forget how many slots that you want to apply, what you could actually do is essentially delete these and modify them, or add sort of 4 more of this, and just increase the total amount of damage that you're doing here, or increase the total number of die rolls. So you could have the first one just be 2d8 radiant damage. That way you know that when you add first level spell slot to it, you just click this once and you've got your 2d8 there. You can have another Divine Smite set up. So we could do one level 1 spell slot, for example. That way we know that we have used a level 1 spell slot. And oops, that would be 2d damage at this point, not 1. And then we could have another effect added. And this, by the way, effectively replaces this. So I'm going to delete that. Now, we could add this again. Oh, I'm just going to copy that. Add this here. But in this case, it's going to be one level 2 spell slot, which makes it 3d8 radiant damage, and nothing else changes. So now, when I use a level 2 spell slot, I just click on this, do my roll, and yes, I know that there's going to be a lot more around that. So that's essentially how that could actually work as well. So by using the improved Divine Smite effect here, then you can automatically do this. Now, here's the thing. You can actually even modify the longsword damage here, because every time you're making a melee attack, it's always going to be adding that 1d8 radiant damage. So you could actually do this. Drop a 1d8 in there, and it will be radiant. So now you're doing 1d8 plus 4 slashing damage in addition to 1d8 radiant damage. So you don't even have to worry about clicking on this particular effect every time you make your damage roll. You just click on this, and it will roll the dice. But it's included as part of that damage. It still splits out the damage types so that you have some slashing, which might suffer resistance, and then radiant damage, which might not suffer any form of resistance, or it might increase damage based on the fact that it's radiant to non-dead, for example. And then do the same thing here. That is the other option. That way you don't have to worry about clicking on Improved Divine Smite here, but you still have to do that manually for Divine Smite. So these two are essentially now replaced. And that's how that works. That's what the Improved Divine Smite gives you. And yes, this does stack with whatever you do here. So if you used this, why is that a 60-10? That should be a 68. So clear 4, 5, 6. I apologize, I must have missed that. Anyway, so instead of 68 here, so that if you were attacking an undead creature, you would be doing a total of 7. So you just go bing, bing, roll, you're done. Okay. So 7 being the inclusion of the improved Divine Smite effect. And that's everything that we have to worry about for improved Divine Smite, as well as level 11. At level 12, we are gaining an improvement to our ability score improvement. So let's drop this into place, and I'm going to choose a feat. So give me a moment, I will be right back. So in this particular case, I'm going to choose the Inspiring Leader feature here, or feat. And that's because I do qualify. You'll see that there's a prerequisite here of Charisma 13 or higher, which I have. And all you do is you drop that onto the features or abilities page here, and it will drop it into place. Now, what does this particular feat actually give you the ability to do? Well, essentially, you can spend 10 minutes prior to a particular fight shoring up their quote unquote resolve, which means that you're essentially inspiring them, if you will. While they are involved in that particular fight and while they stay within 30 feet of you, and this can only be done up to 6 friendly creatures, so 6 party members in your party. Each creature can gain temporary hit points equal to your level plus your charisma modifier. So in this particular case, I'd be able to add 14 temporary hit points to anybody who I was able to apply this to, which means this is an actionable feature. So let's drop this into here and put that under feats group. And you'll see that it's already set up. Now, let's say this ape is part of my party for some reason. I can add 14 temporary hit points to that particular ape so that the temporary hit points will be absorbed first before their own hit points actually start taking any damage. And that's essentially what that does. So that completes everything we need to do at level 12. And yes, I know that there is a spell here that we can apply, but I'm going to do that on the next one because it's a blank one. So that's generally where I'm going to do them in relation to this. So in relation to level 13, we are not really gaining anything. So I'm going to use that opportunity to deal with any outstanding spells that I have not taken. So we are now able to cast 4th level spells. But we are also level 13. That means that we now have the ability to cast 6 spells from our level plus 2 spells from our bonus. So that means I need to be able to add 2 more spells to this particular list here. So let's see. I'll take Death Ward for the 4th level. And let's see, is Daylight. Okay, that's just essentially the equivalent to a light spell. I'll take Create Food and Water just for kicks. Alright, and that takes care of the outstanding spells. And you've probably noticed that I'm doing it on these levels that don't really have anything. And that's primarily because it gives me something to cover for those levels. Okay, and that completes everything for 13. At level 14, we will be gaining Cleansing Touch as our new feature. So I'm going to apply this level. And then let's take a look at Cleansing Touch. So Cleansing Touch essentially gives you the ability to end a spell effect on yourself or on another creature of your party. And let's say, for example, that there was a spell out there that applied a damage each time the turn rolls around to a particular character that it's cast on. Well, what you can do is you can essentially touch that character using this feature and nullify that spell. So it essentially gives you the ability to nullify those capabilities. So any negative effect can be purged, is what that comes down to. This is an actionable item. It will be added to your Paladin category here. And I don't want that. I'm just going to minimize all of these that are there so that we can actually more clearly see us add this to this. Minimize that. All right. Now, the other thing that happens here is that this is something that can only be used a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. So in this case, your charisma modifier is 2, which means you get to use it twice. Cleansing Touch before you need a long rest. So that is primarily the reason why you want to add this to your actions tab, because now you have to be able to use it twice before it goes away, and then when the party makes a long rest or your character takes a long rest, it returns. And that is Cleansing Touch, and that completes everything we need to deal with for level 14. At level 15, we will be gaining our next Sacred Oath feature, which I'm not going to cover, and so I'm going to skip on to 16. So let me apply level 15 and then 16 here, and we are gaining our next ability score improvement. Now in this particular case, I'm going to bump our charisma up by another 2 points to 17, increasing our bonuses. Everything that we have here should already take those bonuses into account, so we should not have to make any adjustments to any of that particular changes. We do, however, or abilities, we do, however, need to adjust our total number of spells, because we are now able to cast 8 from our level and 3 from our bonus, which means we now have 11 spells that we can now cast. So I need to add 3 new spells to this, and we're still limited to up to level 4. So, let's see. Let's go with Purify. Where did all of my other spells go? Well, that's interesting. All of the other spells I've added to this particular character are gone. Ah, no. I'm just being an idiot. Oh, it's been a long night. Anyway, okay. I'm having a brain fart. I'm having a brain fart. All right. Let's go with 1 there, so that's 2 more spells that I need to add. I'm going to take Aura of Life and remove Curse. So those are the 3 spells. Okay, so that takes care of everything that we need to do at, I think it's level 16 we're on? Yep, level 16. Now at level 17, I don't have anything to do because I just did that as part of level 16, so I could have just skipped it. Yeah, there's nothing else here that I have to do. So level 17 is literally just applying the level. We're not gaining anything except our proficiency bonus. At level 18, we are gaining aura improvements. This means that any of our abilities that had the aura statement in front of them, it means that they are improving themselves by whatever their adjustments are. So let's take a look at what those actually are. So the first one, abilities, was Aura of Courage, Aura of Devotion, which actually doesn't, that comes from the Oath, so I'm not going to cover that here. And essentially all this is that because we are now level 18, the aura that we project now extends out to 30 feet as opposed to 10 feet. And that's the improvement that we're getting. So we don't have a whole lot that we have to cover here for level 18. In fact, the only thing that we'd have to do is our spells. Because we can now do 9 spells total. And did I unlock level 5th? Yes. Level 5, I mean. I did. So let's choose a level 5 spell to add to our spell sheet here. Vanishing Smite. That'll work. And that completes everything we have to do for level 18. At level 19, we are gaining our last ability score improvement. And in this particular case, I just generally like to take a random thing here and just add something to it. So I could gain 2 bonuses very easily here by adding 1 point to each of these. And that brings our wisdom and our charisma saving throws up to a plus 10 bonus here. So that takes care of that, but that also means I now have to add another spell. So I don't think I chose Bless, did I? Yes, I did. Okay. Now how many spell slots do we have at level 5? 1. So it really doesn't... Dispel good and evil. Or evil and good. Yeah, that'll work. Destruction Wave. It's designed for both good and evil characters, although you'll want to change this damage type to the type that you want to do. All right, so, and that completes everything we have to do at level 19. Now, at level 20, we are gaining our last Sacred Oath feature, which means there's nothing I really have to cover for this particular level except for the spell we're going to gain. Oops, I forgot to add that. Except for the spell that we're going to gain at level 20, because we can now add 10 spells from our level, giving us a total of 14. And I'm pretty certain I only have 13 right now. So let's pop that open, and just to speed this along, I don't think I have Divine... Oh, I do. Okay. Let's go for Heroism. And that's everything that we have to do. So we have now completed leveling up this Paladin from level 2 through level 20, skipping past our Sacred Oaths, or the oath features that we are going to acquire from our class specialization. And now all I have to do is worry about creating the videos specific to each of those class specializations. So with that, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you found it informative, and I hope to see you in the next one. I wish to thank you for taking the time to watch this particular video. I hope you found it informative and useful to familiarizing yourself with Fantasy Grounds in general, and that you had fun in the process. If you found the video useful and you liked the content of the particular video, go ahead and click that like button to let me know. And if you have any questions specific to the topic covered by this particular video, or just have some comments in general, please feel free to post something in the comments section, and I will do my best to respond to any questions that are asked. Additionally, I do release content quite regularly, and it's generally specific to Fantasy Grounds or 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons at this time. So if you'd like to be notified when new videos come out, go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell to ensure that notification is sent to you when I release a new video.